Hello, welcome to this very special podcast, 10th of January. This is the first one in 2018, and today I'm joined by a guy who goes by the name of Triadian. How you doing, man?
I am fine, thank you. How are you? And Happy New Year to you and all of
And
your Academy users.
thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too. It's been a crazy 2017. A lot of stuff's happened. It's been productive. I think a little bit too productive in some areas. We'll cover that later on. I'm sat here with a nice cup of coffee now in my brand new I Saw Your Mum on Tinder cup. I got that for Christmas.
I swipe left, just so you're aware.
I don't use it. I don't use Tinder. I don't use anything anymore. The only thing I use is Clickteam Chat, Discord, and Fusion 2.5. That's how bane and barren my life has gone.
Wait a minute, you didn't include Firefly in there. What's going on?
What? Well, I didn't want to openly admit it, but I haven't had the time to actually sit down and use Firefly as much as I wanted to. I know you're going to hate me for that.
No excuse. I just don't know what to say.
Well, I'm hoping that today's conversation is going to unravel a few things that might bolster the use of Firefly with Fusion. If many of you guys don't know out there that me and Triadian work together in Clickteam, so we have the usual daily banter, even though Triadian usually says nothing 24 hours of the day. But yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, Firefly has evolved. I mean, well, let's stem back. We're just to let everybody know as well, we've not rehearsed any of this. We don't know what we're going to talk about, so this is all done on a whim. So there might be a few hiccups.
Oh, we're going off script now, are we?
Yeah, we're past the Tinder point. Let's go back to how you got involved. I mean, you don't have to reveal too much, but reveal whatever you want. How did you initially get involved with Clickteam and Chris and the Firefly project?
Basically, my last project sort of fizzled out with a few arguments within the group. It was a massive group of people, and I was wandering around Reddit trying to find something else to dip my teeth into, sort of thing. And there was a kind of cryptic post from Chris, the Kizgiri or whatever he's called, that sort of caught my eye slightly. And there was enough words in there that I knew I could do whatever it was that was. It didn't actually say what it was. And it was just, I don't know, it caught my eye, and I thought, I'll have a go at that. So I sent him a message and I said, I can't really tell what you're on about, but I know I can do X, Y, and Z. And he says, well, we use X, Y, and Z. And then after I signed an NDA and all the rest of it, he showed me what was going on, and that's how it started, basically.
Interesting. How did you find the transition into, did you know what Fusion was before getting involved?
I'd never even heard of it, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. So how did you find the transition into, getting your head around what the product was and how to incorporate Firefly into it?
I only did the chocolate break tutorial, the 2D one, and it was, I daren't say it was way too easy for me, because obviously my skill level is slightly higher than some people's. Not trying to build my own ego up or whatever, but it was like really easy. So trying to get what they already had, because there was a guy before me who did what was then 100% of Firefly, but it's only about 80% now, because obviously the more I work on it, the less his work is still there.
Yeah.
So trying to get his stuff working, because it was working, but it wasn't working. Like, just random things just happened because of like little bugs and whatnot. So it wasn't usable, because it was just I mean, it's probably not usable now, but it's a lot better than it was. So it wasn't too bad, but there were some things that I just could not get my head around. Like, why are we using actives instead of images, and why do images not move and all? It was like really weird, but I understand now, obviously. But way back when I first saw it, I was like, oh god, this is a bit weird.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like trying to import a lot of foreigners into a country. You've got like Fusion on one side of the river, and then you've got you've got Firefly at the other side, and you've got to try and merge them in between. And it's that link in between, isn't it? Again, using the actives and backdrops and trying to get it all to work together, which is a little bit strange. But the guy who worked on it before was called Ross, and I actually saw a lot of the development stuff way back. I'm talking like 2010 or something like that, 2011, and things were all right then. But it's been such a hard task for all the developers, including yourself, because of that link into Fusion 2.5. And really, when you think about it, it's not even about the active objects. It's not even about the frame editor. It's all about linking with the event editor, isn't it? And just making things connect from there, really.
Yeah, I often class Firefly not as an actual product itself. It's just a bridge between Erlich, which is the 3D stuff, and Fusion, which is the eventing stuff. So Firefly technically isn't anything apart from a little communications bridge to get both of them chatting to each other.
Yeah, and I think it's ingenious. I think it's absolutely incredible how we can now, connect with the Erlich engine to create 3D games. Now, what I want to touch on about it's been about 2 years since the release, isn't it, of Firefly?
1 year and 2 months. It was
Right.
released in November, just like a year ago. But
Yeah, but
2 months.
that was just my Clickteam enthusiasm coming out. But yeah, how do you find things are going? I mean, do you think where do you see things going at the minute? Where from last year and going into this year?
Well, the launch, if we're honest, was a lot slower than we expected. Not as many people picked it up as we thought they would. So technically, most of last year, I was sat here twiddling thumbs because there wasn't enough dev time to put into it, sort of thing. But I mean, I was still constantly working on it, but not as much as I should have been, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But that was down to sales. So this Christmas period's picked up quite a bit in the Christmas sales. So there's enough for me to start work on the next part of the Firefly Enterprise, which I don't know if I should reveal or not. I don't know, but it concerns a certain mobile phone. So
Nice. Well, the ball's in your court as to what you want and what you don't want to say, and you'll have to excuse me because I've just been having flu for the last 2 weeks, so you might hear me sniffling, coughing, and whatever. So, going back to Firefly again, what can there's a lot of demos out there from users, and I feel that some of the demos and examples that are out there in terms of how can I put it? In terms of what you can do with it, are quite impressive. In terms of asset-wise, not so impressive, and I think that's what lets some of the demos down. I think that a lot of people are flying into Firefly and they're like, yeah, I want to do this, want to do that, but they're not properly preparing the projects. For example, they're not, designing. They're not putting the effort into the 3D models. They're not putting. This is just my opinion from what I see. I'm not saying this is solemn. I mean, like for example, I worked on a 3D game a 3D game about 5 years ago, and I'm no 3D modeler, but I knew that if you want to make something that looks good, you've got to put a bit of effort into your modeling, especially the how can I say this as an example? Like if I put in, say I was an expert 3D modeler, yeah. And I put in, say, 6 months of developing, an animated object, say like a Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. Yeah, I put 6 months solid work in of getting all the rig right and the facial expressions and everything. Could I import something like that into Firefly?
yeah, quite easily. If it should be exactly. I mean, it's not. I'm going to mention Unity. It's not exactly the same as Unity, but technically it is the same as Unity in whatever you throw at it, it should be able to handle. I mean, we have a few issues with the fact that the Erlich loader we're currently using is from like 5 years ago. So some of the newer versions of models such as Blender and FBX has changed its format recently. So those at the moment can't be loaded, but I am looking at getting those two working so that you can literally load a new FBX out of Max 2018 or whatever it is, and you can just drop your blend straight in and it'll read both of them and put everything where you want it. So while yes, we can just import any old model from wherever, you have to bear in mind that we're using 5-year-old tech and it hasn't quite been brought up to speed yet. And please ignore a bird in the background who's decided to start chatting to me.
No worries. Yeah, the reason why I brought that up is because what I'm trying to get out to people is that Firefly, as a core, is a fantastic product. It's what people put in. I always say this about Fusion 2.5. In the past, you might get some people that criticise Fusion because they look at some of the examples and some of the games that have been devved with it and they go, oh, it's a load of crap. Yeah, but that is the user's project. That doesn't represent what Fusion stands for. I mean, you look at some great projects that have come out of it, like Heartforth Alicia. What else have we got? The Escapists. Which again, the Escapist wasn't even top-notch graphics, was it really? It was the concept that won everybody over on that. But then you look at some like Knit Underground and stuff, what Nifflers did, you know, beautiful commercial-looking games. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got a lot of people worldwide, kids especially, that, you know, they're not artists, they're not graphic designers. But they are developing games. So I think what it's going to take is for maybe someone is working on it in the background right now that we don't even know about, but maybe someone's working on something that looks the part. The problem is it's image, and you know what it's like yourself. The world revolves around image. I mean, look at social media. I mean, my girlfriend, half of her wardrobe, 3/4 of her wardrobe is probably based on what somebody else has worn. Do you get where I'm going? Do you get where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to remember as well is, from what I can tell, people like prototyping stuff to make sure it does what they do, and then they'll pretty it up later. And I think with Firefly, near enough all of the projects, with the exception of Bitmap Images one, they're all still being prototyped, and they're all, can it do this, can it do the other? And they don't want to spend the 6 months getting one model perfect because they don't know if the game's going to work yet, because I think most people are apprehensive that Firefly can't do what they want it to do, but they then realize that it can do it, and they just keep getting better and better, but they're still all prototyping.
Yeah, I agree.
Nothing...
Yeah, I think the product's still too early. Even 14 months into release, I think it's way too early for anybody to be coming out with anything spectacular. But it's just good to know, or let people who are listening know that what it is capable of. I mean, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to finding one day when I can sit down and go, you know what, today I am not going to work. I'm going to open Firefly up and do something in it. I don't know whether it's the same for you or not, but I haven't had time to do trial and error stuff for about 13 years now because of work. Every day I've got to get up every morning. I get up in the morning, I have a cup of tea, then I have a coffee, and then I don't even have breakfast. And then by 9 o'clock I'm on the computer and I've realised what I've got to do for the day. And sometimes 12 hours is not enough in a day. And then I'm getting my head down to sleep at 10, 11 o'clock. I'm playing on Xbox for half an hour. I'm off to sleep. I get up the day after and it's deja vu. And don't forget, I've got an abundance of kids as well that I have to cater for. So weekends are not mine because I've got the kids to take care of. And I think that's what it is. I think what my point, I'm not just rambling on here, what the point is I'm trying to make is I think people need that trial and error time, don't they? I mean, that's how I started out with Fusion. Let's give this a go, and I'd spend 4 or 5 hours trial and error in. If that didn't work, I'd scrap that and try it a different way and all that. And that's how you become, better at doing stuff. Is trial and error. I've always been a keen believer in trial and error, and I hope that people take the time out to do that with Firefly. Because there's some of the stuff I can do now with Fusion, some people wouldn't even dream about. Like at the minute, I'm working on a brand new desktop application, and if you had to see it, it would look like it's been developed in Visual Studio. It's a proper native. It looks like a proper native Windows application, and yet it's using an interpreter such as Fusion. But that only came about through trial and error and working with Fusion for the last 8-9 years. I hope people take the same stance with Firefly.
I mean, it's a bit like anything. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. I mean, going back to Unity, if you look at some of the very early, I'm going to call it crap for want of a better word, the early crap that came out of Unity, it was like, oh God, that's a Unity game, because the assets for Unity wasn't where they are today.
Yeah.
And I think, Blizzard bringing out Hearthstone, which was a Unity game, and people were like, well, that's not Unity because Unity can't do all that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that really kicked off Unity, and now they're bringing out games that look as good as some other engines that I don't want to name. So, I mean, Unity had the same issue that technically Firefly's got, in that our assets at the moment aren't very good because people haven't got to the stage of, right, I've done all my prototyping, I know it can do this, now let's get on and do something worthwhile.
Create something. Yeah, I fully agree. Like, is it going to be feasible for people to develop like MFA projects that they can then sell? Like, for example, if somebody took the time out to develop a multiplayer engine with Firefly, they could just develop the core project in Fusion and then kind of like sell that on the Click Store. So then people get a head start instead of having to, reinvent the wheel and all that. They've got like a template or a framework to work off.
Well, there's a guy at the moment who has done exactly what you've suggested. He's put about, I think there's 12 examples all in one MFA that he's currently selling on Itch, and I think he's applied to the Click Store, but it hasn't gone through yet. Where he's literally done the start of loads of different things, like here's how you can just put a camera rig straight into your app to get going. Here's how you can do an FPS camera with gravity, an FPS without gravity, an FPS with gravity, and an Xbox controller. He's literally done loads of separate examples all in the same MFA where you just drag that frame out and start going with, I will say, 20% of your game already going. So, I mean, people are trying it to see if they can get away with it, but it's up to the users if they want to start going down that route.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange one. I mean, a lot's going to unfold this year. 2018 is a big year for everybody, for Clickteam, for Firefly, for the Academy as well. There's going to be a lot of stuff unfolding this year. The big question, which is on everybody's lips, is what's the chances of Firefly going over to Fusion 3?
I've no idea, if I'm completely honest with you. Chris, or Kisgree, is actually my boss, and we have chatted about whether I do want to do it, and I've said I'm open to whatever he decides. So whenever I get a copy of Fusion 3 and someone says go for it, then I'll go for it. But if that never happens, it never happens. I don't know what the future holds at the moment. I'm up for it if everyone else is, so we'll see what happens.
Awesome. There is a Firefly section in the Academy, which is not very populated at present, but again, it's because I haven't had a chance to do much with it. But the guy Quail Studio, I think that's who you was talking about before with the examples. He shot me a few videos over, which are in the Academy. But when I get a chance to sit down and actually work with Firefly, what interests me the most about Firefly and the Erlix engine is the fact that you can use, you've probably heard from the previous podcast when I've gone on about this, is the fact that you can use the old PK3 format. Now, what I did want to ask you, and I think I've asked you this before, and I think we tested something like this before, is if I develop a map in GTK Radiant and export it, can I just instantly import that into Firefly and run around it?
Yeah, if you remember way back, just a year and a bit ago, we started doing promo videos, and there was a massive castle.
Yeah.
That was there. That was actually a map from Quake 3 that I literally just downloaded, shoved it straight in. The graphic errors that were showing on it was down to a different bug that was in the engine. That obviously, with that as a prototype, we realized that this was wrong, and that has been fixed. So yeah, there's nothing stopping you dropping a map from Quake 3 or Radiant or whatever you want straight in and wandering around. And I mean, things like your player spawns and stuff like that don't work, obviously, because you're going to need to add them yourselves, because there's not, I mean, if someone was to make an engine that read the other half of the file, because all I read is the mesh data and the map data and all that lot.
Yeah.
The sky stuff gets ignored, the collision stuff gets ignored, all of the chalks and all that lot get ignored, all the trigger points get ignored. But there's nothing stopping someone rereading after I've loaded all the meshes and going with it. So, I mean, it could be someone could make an engine out there that just reads the rest of the file, gets your game, and you can literally just load a map and start playing it instantly.
Well, that's interesting. That's definitely something I'm gonna. Well, that's definitely something I'm gonna look at, because from 2003, 2002 maybe, yeah, 2002 to about 2008, I was so proficient with GTK Radiant because I was playing a lot of Quake 3 engine games at the time, like Soldier of Fortune 2. That was back when I had time to play games. I even had a clan, can you believe it? I had a clan. It was massive. We used to have servers and everything. They all used to chip in donate every week through PayPal, and we used to have these servers, we used to have all these clan wars and all that. It was good times. But yeah, I used to build maps for the Quake 3 engine, and it got to the point like Fusion where I was so fluent with GTK Radiant. You know, I could churn maps out for fun, bang textures on and all that. But that's definitely something I'm going to look at. Is the rest of the thing, is it plain text that I can read and bring into Fusion, or would I have to develop something external, like the trigger points and whatnot?
If someone was to start developing something like that and they started chatting to me and said, look, how do I get this trigger point? I could, because Firefly's a bridge, I could make a new like event that says trigger has been found at blah blah, and then you could run with that. But if no one's doing it, I'm gonna say waste. I'm not gonna waste the time doing it because no one's ever gonna use it.
Yeah.
But if someone says, I need this to work, I need that to work, give me the data for this, I'll gladly add it, because I mean, I'm loading it anyway, and then I'm just throwing it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't mind loading it and throwing it out to an event, and then people can do whatever they like with the event.
Awesome. Well, we've covered quite a few topics in just 20. Well, we've covered quite a lot of surface area for Firefly anyway in 20 minutes, which is good. There's all sorts which I want to talk about this year, especially with the build-up of Fusion 3. Every time I mention that, you can every time anybody mentions Fusion 3, you can see the Clickteam chat wobbles a little bit. I love it. I'm going to keep mentioning it now because I can. It's 2018. There's a lot going on. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Fusion 2.5 brings, especially in terms of the Switch exporter. I was going to buy one of those switches to test with, but have you seen the price of them? Man, they've held the price, haven't they?
They're doing quite well, and the games that are coming out for them are unbelievable. So
I don't understand how they're holding the price so well.
50 quid a time for a game that has been out on the PC for 3 years at about 5 quid in the sales. And people are like, yeah, I'll buy that. That's good, that is. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Gone crazy.
Well, the more weird thing for me is the Switch, even second hand, you can't pick up really for less than 180, 200 quid, right? But yet you can pick up an Xbox One S, which is the second generation of the Xbox One, for like 100 quid now. And it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Nintendo have hit a gold mine again.
They have.
Mind you, the Wii U went a little bit wobbly, so I think the Switch is doing a little bit better than the Wii U is. So
it's a shame Sega couldn't keep up.
Wow, no comment about Sega from me. So
I don't know whether to take that as a good or a bad thing. I don't know whether to roll off into a Sega rant.
It's a bad thing. Don't go there. We'll be fine.
All right, we'll skip over that. Let me drink my Tinder cup of coffee out of my Tinder cup.
Drink your Tinder.
Drink my Tinder. Drink me fire.
So technically, you're drinking your mum, though, aren't you?
Fire. We need to slow down here, dude. It's Wednesday. I'm hoping that we can have a Click convention this year. I don't think you'll have been to any Click conventions, would you?
Well, technically, a few of us met up at GDX Resd in Birmingham, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So we did have a mini. It wasn't just Clickteam, but there was a few people that used Clickteam, and I did have a chat with a few of them. So we did have a mini one, but we haven't had a proper one that I've attended. So
the last one we had was at Cambridge 2013, and man, that was crazy. And I need to tell you this story, right? Because I've not told anybody this story, and I want to say this on the podcast. So we was doing the convention, and I think it was the first day we was there. We did a Click Jam. And everyone was like huddled together on these big long tables in this hall, and it was like build a game built around this theme, and we all had like an hour to produce like this Click Jam game, and and all the Click Team guys went off and had a meeting. So I was kind of like overseeing this little Click Jam thing that we had going on. And this guy out of nowhere like starts banging on the window. I was like, what the fuck's this? So I went outside, and this guy stood there. Like, how can I describe him? He looks. Do you ever see that film Leon?
I'm useless with names.
The French sniper, the movie with the French sniper, and he has that little girl in America.
Is that the one with the little girl? Yeah, I've seen that one.
He looked like him, but with a square head and a goatee and the same type of glasses. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He's like, yes, I've turned up for the Click convention. Come on in. So I got him in, I sat him down. He did the Click Jam. He stayed all day. He never spoke a word to anybody hardly. And then he left. And I've never seen him since. I don't know who he was. I don't know if he's on the forums. But I want this guy to come forward because I need to know who he is. It was just one of those events, where it was just a little bit surreal and a little bit like, what the hell just happened. But the Click Jam.
It was me.
I'm trying to imagine what his voice sounded like now. But the conventions are wicked. They're really good. I mean, well, the one that I went to and the last one was good. I remember Jeff turning around to me on the last night, and he said, "You know what, Danny?" He said, "We've done these conventions for 13 years." He went, "And I've never been at pub so much." I just kept dragging them all to the pub. Come on, where are we having dinner? Pub. What we're doing for tea? Pub. Let's go to the pub.
I don't think that's a good promo for the next one, is it? I'm not sure.
Oh, it will occur. There's not much else to do around Cambridge. That's the problem. We don't even know when the next one's going to be. I was hoping for one last year, but that didn't come about. But I can kind of understand why, because to ship everybody over from America and France and everything, it costs a fortune, and I'm sure everybody would love to see that money and funding go into Fusion 3 rather than a get-together for the sake of it. So, but hopefully that'll come together this year. Hopefully. Or we'll do an online one, that is. But yeah, thanks very much anyway for today. The podcast has been great. I've found out some great information about Firefly. I'm definitely going to have a chat with you at some point about maybe getting this GTK Radiant thing up and going, because if we can, I feel like I can teach people a lot better on how to map build and then import it into Fusion. Just a better entry point, I think. But yeah, we'll see what we can put together with that. So thank you very much, Triadian, for joining me today. It's been much appreciated.
You're most welcome, and thank you for inviting me. I'm always in Discord for the people that want to come and chat to me, and we'll take it from there. And you're most welcome to start your Radiant lessons whenever you
yes,
let me know.
Everybody needs to get to Discord. We've got a Clickteam channel on there. There's an Academy channel as well. But in the Clickteam channel, Triadian has his own little pit. It's like his own room. It's called Firefly. I don't know what goes on in there.
Called it a pit. That's not very nice.
It is a bit of a pit. I mean, have you seen some of the users in there? No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I'll let them all know what you think.
No, I'm joking. It's because you guys just talk about Firefly all the time, so it's probably... Mind you, Fee's in there. Is it Fee? How do you pronounce his name? Fi? How would you pronounce his name? I
can't swear, can I?
Well,
it begins with an A.
Yeah, I could go down that route as well. I'd call him an arsehole. But yeah, Fee's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy. I'll give him that.
I have spoke to him about his name, and apparently it's like pi, as in the mathematical symbol-y thing. So I think it's pi, but we could be wrong. I don't know.
But it's not spelt pi in my opinion.
Don't go there.
It's definitely Fee. It's definitely Fee.
Wow.
I'm looking at him typing in Discord now. I might just.
I know. I've just seen it pop up as well. I'm sure when he listens to this, one of us is going to get it.
Yeah.
So
I
see what happens.
I just love ripping him to bits. Funny. I've done it. I remember I met Fee or Phi or Pi, whatever he wants to call himself. It was nearly 10 years ago in the old Gwordy chat. And I think I've ripped him ever since. So I've done well for the last 10 years. So if you want to carry on the next 10 years, be my
I'd
guest.
rather not, if it's all the same with you. The less interaction with that, the better.
He's best friends with Jeff.
Have you seen Jeff in Discord lately?
No. Has he been in?
Not for about 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think that shows what their friendship's like. I don't know.
Well, anyway, every time I see his name, I just want to right click and just click on kick.
Or ban.
Or ban. Yeah, ban's a hot one. I'll save that for the Fusion 3 release. But anyway, it's good. It's been good talking to you, man. Until the next podcast, thank you everybody for tuning in. Anybody with anything we've discussed today that's got links to it, I'll put in the description below. But that's pretty much about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll get notifications of the next one. Triadian, thank you very much, man.
You're most welcome.
Cheers, dude.